Well, hi there. Welcome to our second video for Be a Santa to a Senior. For you, our volunteers. Of course, this is Karen. I'm Greg. And today we're going to have a conversation around what we think are your questions for those of you who are new to the program, or for those of you who've been part of what we've been doing for a while. But we're hoping to just clarify and maybe spark some ideas for you as you prepare to enter into a long-term care facility and make a connection with the resident. So, how can we be prepared to make that connection and have a successful visit?
Okay, well, my thoughts on that are that it will help all of us to bear in mind that the folks who live in long-term care homes are living with aging conditions in large. There are some younger residents with conditions that lead them to be living there. But in general, you can think in terms of a person having some disability, and it's up to us to sort of walk into the room and watch for those kinds of things that will influence our ability to connect with them. So if someone has hearing loss, then it's important to bear that in mind. If they have vision loss, okay, what does that mean? And then there's others who have mobility losses, and that doesn't generally affect your ability to connect. However, cognitive loss, dementia or Alzheimer's, that can really affect someone's ability to have a conversation and a visit. So these are some things to bear in mind. You may be wondering, oh goodness, what will I do if they don't talk to me, if they're quiet? What if they can't hear me? What if it seems that I'm not understanding what they're saying, or they're not understanding what I'm saying? And that can actually bring up some feelings of nervousness about getting a conversation started, and sometimes you can just feel a little bit helpless, or honestly just uninformed, and you may never know exactly the conditions that someone's living with, and it's not something that we ask directly about. But I mention it because I think it is natural for us to all be thinking about who this person is and how to connect with them, and it's good to think about how the communication is going, and I think it ultimately comes down to our desire to be there. And all of you signed up to do this, which is really all you need.
Yeah.
And that compassion for the elderly and the kindness that you're displaying by showing up with bells on and making yourself available to go and listen and to chat, that really is, I think, the core of what will make your visit a success.
Okay. So, let's talk for a sec about, the kind of approach that our volunteers should take as they meet with the resident. I mean, there are some housekeeping things, like we want people to pair up. We want you to take your coat off and stay a while, get comfortable, use some hand sanitizer, or wash your hands if you've been out, or if you need to make sure that you take care of that. But beyond that, what kinds of things should folks be thinking about?
Okay. Well, as a pair, before you head off to deliver gifts, it's a great idea to talk with each other who's going to take the lead and who will speak at the beginning of the visit. Just sort that out.
Sure.
Introduce yourself when you walk into the room. Introduce yourself and the person that you're delivering with, and talk about yourself a little bit and why you're there. That's absolutely fine, and I think by sharing a little bit about yourself, you're warming up that conversation a little, and then bring the focus back to the senior that you're visiting with. There are some nuts and bolts, some really simple little pointers that we have. We've observed how our volunteers and our caregivers do these things beautifully, and so some of the little simple things that we recommend that you really pay attention to would be to approach this person at an eye level. So find a chair that or somewhere that you can sit, assuming the resident is sitting, and get yourself eye level for your visit.
Right.
And that might mean squatting in front of them or beside them, honestly, but do go looking for a chair if that's possible. sometimes when we go into the care homes, the residents aren't necessarily in their room, and so staff will help you to find that person you're delivering a gift to. They might be in a common area, and that might set up a beautiful visit, but sometimes it's a little noisy and a little distracting. And if you're finding that it's hard to make a connection with someone, it might be because you need a quieter place, and you can recommend to offer to push someone's wheelchair down the hall, say, can you show me your room? Should we go have a visit there, or find a quiet spot? You're welcome to do that, and it just might help. I think that when we're relaxed, it helps them to relax. So, just really think in terms of entering the room, having a seat, taking your coat off, and asking some really great questions. I think silence is okay too. And bear in mind that some folks that we're visiting are just processing things more slowly, and so a slow pace is good, and silence is okay, and frankly, touch is fine too. Holding the hand of a resident that you've gone to visit is going to be a really beautiful part of the visit, and most of the residents really enjoy that.
Sure. Well, it brings to mind sort of along that continuum, what could you say to our volunteers who might be unsure about how to engage a frail resident?
Yeah. It can be a little unnerving to not know whether someone can speak to you or not. And so if you're unsure, there's staff around, and they're going to help you to take an approach that will be a success. Some people are sleeping, and should we wake them or not?
Yeah, right.
Staff will tell you that.
Yep.
And then others might appear to be sleeping, but really, that was a cat nap, and the staff will let you know if they're ready to be roused and ready for their visit. And honestly, some folks are under the weather or very, very vulnerable, and so sometimes the staff will say it would be really nice if you'd sit with them. Just sit at bedside, hold their hand, and quietly be with them. Sometimes you'll get an eye open and an eye-to-eye gaze, and that's more or less what the visit would consist of, and perhaps something will come to mind that you would like to share with them. And so those take some sensitivity, and we've seen our volunteers and our staff just do a beautiful job of connecting with folks with that patient approach.
Yep. So, again, in terms of a particular type of frailty now, how many of the residents do you think have some type of Alzheimer's or dementia?
Lots.
Okay.
I think we should expect that with a large percentage, and for a lot of folks it might be early stages, and so it won't prevent a visit whatsoever. Again, I just think that the main thing here is to have the conditions set that you're going to give someone your time and attention, and let it be quiet, and then I think where things will go for you as a volunteer is to ask some really great questions. And I think you want to keep things positive and confirm that they're understanding, and as you get a sense of how they respond to comments that you make or questions that you ask, you'll adjust and sort of find a place where you're connecting and you're really having a little bit of an exchange. And then you get that positive vibe between you, like we're having a nice visit.
And so then it becomes very important, the type of questions that we ask. So what kind of approach should we be taking as we try to keep things positive and ask the right kind of questions? Right.
It can be unnerving for someone with dementia to be asked specific questions. And so we really want to ask open questions, things that give them an opportunity to tell stories, to describe, and to share. And so a closed question is a yes or no question.
Right.
Were you born in Saskatoon? And you might think that's an easy question, but some folks can struggle with that. And so think in terms of questions that are tell me about, and then you can listen and hear when they tell the story a little bit and draw them out a little bit and make comments about what they're sharing. And what kind of work did you do? Or tell me about your family. There's likely photos in the room that you can refer to and show interest in that senior and that resident. And then it'll just take off from there.
Well, that's great, and maybe that's a good place to leave things for now
Yeah.
for our next video. So we'll continue this process the next time, but for now, just thank you so much for engaging with us, for signing up to volunteer and bringing along friends and family. Keep in mind there are 7 days left now to donate to the GoFundMe page. We've got tons of volunteers, which is awesome. We are a little light on the fundraising side, and so if you know anyone who is thinking about making a donation, please encourage them to do so before December 6th. That gives us enough time to make the gift purchases and get everything organized and ready for delivery days, which start on December 13th. They just have to go to the GoFundMe page. If you search GoFundMe Be a Santa Saskatoon 2018, that'll get you to where you need to go to make a donation to the cause. So thanks again. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.